Hey guys, how you doing? It's that guy here, and I'm here to talk about the Venom movie I saw. Now, anyone who knows me knows I am a massive Marvel fan. I was highly disappointed with this Spider-Man 3 version of Venom, especially since he's like one of my favourite characters in the Marvel Universe. So anyway, I went into the film, I told my friend about it, and he said the movie is just meh at best, and I've seen it's got like some really bad reviews, it's not done as well as it should have. I can tell you, I enjoyed this film immensely. I don't know what everyone was going on about. I just absolutely loved it. I mean, like, sure, there was some problems with it, like there's with any film, but overall, I think it was a pretty good movie. I highly recommend you go and see it. So, if you haven't gone to see the film yet, I advise you go and see it before I start talking about it in just a couple of moments. But to me, I recommend seeing this film. It's absolutely amazing. So, let's talk about the film, shall we? Now, it starts off with Eddie Brock, and he's a reporter, but he does like these video vlogs and that. So he doesn't work the Daily Bugle like he usually does. So, he's got a pretty sweet life. He's engaged to a girl called Anne, and she currently works for this company called Life Foundation, who there's like all this shady stuff that goes on. I think she works in the law department, like sorting out the all the stuff that court proceedings, all that. So Eddie is given this assignment to go and investigate just talk about the good stuff that the Life Foundation does. The day before, though, he sees an email from the Life Foundation that his girlfriend gets, and of course, being the arsehole that he is, he goes and snoops in the email and sees all this shady stuff that's going on. So next day he goes into the Life Foundation and talks about all these, I don't know, mysterious stuff that's going on, like disappearing bodies and illegal experiments and etc. And he finds out that he read the email from his fiancée, and she gets fired. They break up, etc., etc. Meanwhile, in the other side of the world, there's a Life Foundation craft coming back from space. Apparently it picked up some symbiotes from a asteroid or another planet or something. They've captured 4 of them. And suddenly it comes down and crashes into the Earth. Women drivers, right guys? No? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, so they get these symbiote stuff, they only manage to find 5. Apparently, no, 3, sorry. And they can't find the 4th one, and they just assume they escape because apparently they can't breathe in our atmosphere, so they assume it's just died. They can't find it. So the boss of the Life Foundation is Colton Drake, and he gets the other 3 symbiotes back to his base. Meanwhile, the guy in the aircraft that crashed, he survives or something, and he gets taken to hospital. Unknown to them, that symbiote has taken over his body, and after that, it takes over the nurse's body and starts to make its way back to the Life Foundation. Cue 6 months later, and Eddie Brock is, not with his fiancée anymore. He's moved into a crappy old flat. His neighbour plays all this annoying loud ass music, and it's just, his life just literally is rubbish now. He doesn't have a job. But he's still a pretty decent guy. He has his homeless friend near a building called Maria. And, he chats to her and talks to her, and he's still a pretty nice guy. So anyway, he goes he gets this girl, Dora her name is. She works at the Foundation, and Colton Drake, the leader, the boss, I guess, decides that it's time to start on human experimentation to try and implant symbiotes into humans, and she's not okay with that, so she gets in contact with Eddie Brock and says, all this stuff's going on, I want you to expose it. So he goes, okay then, get me in. So she gives him a pass key so he can get in the building, and when he gets in there, he finds his homeless friend Maria. So he tries and bust her out, and once she gets out, she digs her claws into his neck and you can see that the symbiote coming out of her fingers into his neck, and he doesn't realise this, obviously, but when he's running through the forest, he's busting through his tree trunks like they're absolute like toothpicks, and he thinks nothing's wrong until he gets back to his flat later on. And when he's in his flat, there's a knock at the door, and he hears this voice in his head saying, "Don't answer it!" And he's just freaking out, wondering what's going on. Oh, but before that happens, his neighbour's playing loud house music as he usually does, and goes over to it and asks him to keep his noise down. He's like, "Ah, screw you, man." And this is where you get the first glimpse of Venom. His face changes, and you see all his sharp teeth and the black face and his alien eyes and all that. And he's like, "Oh," and the guy shits himself, says, "Sure thing, man." And he goes back inside and turns the music off. So anyway, that's what I was saying. There's a knock at the door, and you hear this, the voice saying, "Don't answer it." He answers the door, being an idiot. And these guys, armed guys, come in, and they like try shooting him in. His tentacles come out of Eddie's arms, like knocking him out and throwing him about and stuff. And it's pretty damn cool, I have to say. The fight scenes in this are pretty damn good. I mean, there's also a scene where he's on a bike and he's using the tentacles of Venom going through and like knocking his cars out, and he's on, and it's just, I just really like the scenes where he's using these Venom powers. So in the end, he goes to meet his old fiance, who's now with another guy, Dr. Dan Lewis, and he says, "Oh, there's something wrong with me," and he ends up getting tranquilized by Dr. Dan Lewis because he's acting crazy, like eating raw lobsters or something out of the fish tank at the restaurant he goes to meet her at. So he takes him to what's the machine called? There's a machine that does MRI scans and makes this high-pitched noise, and he finds out that Venom is vulnerable to fire and high-pitched sounds, so he tells him. So he busts out of it, and he goes to his old office building. He wants to get in there. So he goes in the front door, and there's all these armed guards waiting for him. He kicks the shit out of them, and he's back outside, and he says to him, "Oh," Venom says to Eddie, "Oh, if you want to go out, that's what you have to do." He climbs up the side of the building, and Venom looks out and sees how beautiful the city is. He has a heart-to-heart with Eddie, saying, "You know, Eddie, I too am a loser on my planet, just like you are here. And I realise how beautiful this city is. We were coming here to destroy your planet, wipe out humanity. But I see now that we shouldn't. It's too beautiful to be destroyed." So he's up on top of the office building. He leaves some notes for the guy he used to work for about the Life Foundation project and what's going on and all this shady shit. And meanwhile, while this is all going on, the escaped symbiote is still swapping, going to body, and getting closer and closer to Life Foundation. And while that's going on, Colton Drake, he's still experimenting with the other two symbiotes he still has, and they end up dying because they can't get symbiosis with the other host they're trying. So that's also why he wants to get Eddie Brock to find out how he's bonding with the symbiote. So eventually, the Dr. Dan Lewis contacts Eddie, saying the symbiotes affects him, it's damaging him inside, it's eating away at his vital organs. So he goes back to the hospital, and he asks the doctor to lock him in the room with the MRI scanner and turn up to full power. So Venom gets rejected out of Eddie's body, and it goes, and Eddie Brock comes out and says, "Okay," so he feels better. But Venom travels through the air vents and possesses a dog, and these guards are still after Eddie Brock. So he goes to he gets cornered outside the hospital for all these guards, and the dog finds his ex-girlfriend, fiance, Anne, I believe her name is, and possesses her, and she comes out. She kicks all these girls' asses, and also each one their heads. And she goes up to Eddie, and you get this. She's got the Venom symbiote, and so you see her with all these teeth kissing Eddie as the symbiote travels across her body into his again. So you got this female Venom kissing Eddie Brock with all these teeth, and it's quite amusing, to be honest. I couldn't imagine doing it myself. And she's back to her normal self again, and she's like, oh god, I just can't believe I ate this guy's head. He goes, yeah. So Eddie decides that Venom and Eddie decide they need to get to the Life Foundation because they hear that Colton Drake's planning to launch a rocket back into space. And by this time, the other symbiote has reached the Life Foundation, and the symbiote's taken possession of Colton Drake, and that's why he wants to launch the rocket to get the other symbiotes to come down and take over Earth. Venom doesn't want that, obviously, so he goes over there to stop him. You find out at this point that the symbiote that's been travelling all this way to get to the Life Foundation is called Riot. So he sets the rocket up, and he has this massive fight scene. Apparently, according to Venom, that Riot is much more powerful than him. So they have this massive fight scene, and the rocket's going up, and they're fighting on the launch pad of the rocket, and eventually Riot's inside the rocket, and Venom stabs his tentacle or something into the rocket and damages it so it blows up. And before it blows up, Venom says to him, "Goodbye, Eddie." And because of course fire is his weakness as well, and the rocket explodes. Eddie falls into water. They assume Venom and Riot's dead. And so later on, you see Eddie outside of his building. He's talking to his ex-fiancée, and they're talking about how he's not got Venom anymore. And suddenly there's his voice in his head. He goes, "You know she still loves you, Eddie." And he goes, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, says to him, "What? Oh yeah, I know. You know, we have to keep this a secret of what happened." And she goes, "Yeah, sure." And then he starts walking off, and you see it's the Stan Lee cameo. He goes, "You'll get it back soon, son." He goes, "Yeah, I know." And then you have the post-credit scene where he's talking to Venom. He says, "No, this is a me thing, not a us thing." And it's okay. So he goes into his prison to do an interview with this inmate, and this is, I sincerely hope it leads to a sequel, because, well, I'll tell you what happens. He goes into prison and he's interviewing this prisoner, and he's writing on the walls with his blood, and he's a bit crazy. And his name, I don't know if you know this, but Cletus Cassidy is his name. And if you're a massive Marvel fan, you know who that is. And he says to Eddie, "Oh, I'll get out of here, and when I do, there'll be carnage." And that's Cletus Cassidy is another symbiote called Carnage, made from the blood of Venom. And this movie didn't do so well in the box office, but I sincerely hope they make a sequel with Carnage, because Carnage is my favourite bad guy ever, pretty much. And another reason why I enjoyed this movie, because it didn't have Spider-Man in it. No Peter Parker, no Spider-Man, so yeah, it was just focusing mainly on the symbiotes and Venom and Eddie Brock. There was no Peter Parker, nothing like that. So it was a good film. The only bad thing, well, one of the bad things is we didn't get to know what the other two symbiotes that died were called, which I think, could have been interesting, But apart from that, it's pretty good. Now, after the credits, there was another little sneak peek at Into the Spider-Verse, the new Spider-Man film coming out. It's all animated and such. And what we see Miles Morales, and he's at a grave of Peter Parker. Peter Parker's dead. And suddenly, some guy goes behind him and says, "Hey kid," turns around, and suddenly the guy shoots a web at him, and he goes up to him and he sees that he's got a Spider-Man costume underneath his suit, so he thinks Spider-Man, and of course he can't get this web off him, and suddenly the police start chasing him, and so he's going through the city with this web attached to him, this guy's, and we assume it's Peter Parker, who's apparently dead because he was at the graveside, but he's going through the streets and he's dragging the Peter Parker and he's hitting his face on these lampposts and the pavement and all this snow and everything. It's quite amusing, but I really enjoyed that sneak peek of that, and I can't wait until that film's released. I'm probably going to talk about that as well when I see it. Anyway, like I've said, this film is amazing. I would highly recommend you go and see it. I'll see you next time. Bye guys.